Hey guys, welcome to my review for Deus Ex Human Revolution. This game is developed by Eidos Montreal and published by Square Enix. This game is actually the third game in the Deus Ex series. It's a prequel to the first game. It takes place in the year 2027, which is 25 years before the first game, in a world where corporations have extended their influence past the reach of global governments. You play as Adam Jensen, security chief of Seraph Industries. After a terrorist attack on Seraph HQ, Adam must undergo radical surgeries that fuse his body with mechanical augmentations, and he must search for those responsible for the attack. First off, you don't have to play the other two games to understand this. I followed it just fine, but if you're looking for a game that's like a first-person shooter similar to Call of Duty or Halo, look elsewhere. This is more of a thinking man's RPG with some shooter elements, I would say. The really cool thing I found about this game was that it literally, and a lot of games boast about freedom, but this gives you the freedom to play however you want. You can go through this entire game without killing an entire enemy, with the exception of the boss fights, which I would count as a negative, but more about that later. So you can play this game, stealthy and, only using non-lethal means, such as just, punching someone to knock him out, using tranquilizer guns, or like hyper-lethal, using the blades on his arms, just killing everything in sight. And you gain experience points, because this is an RPG, through no matter what you do, whether you're just sneaking through vents for levels, whether you're hacking your way through doors, or whether you are killing the crap out of everything that gets in your way. And the experience points you can put into upgrade systems and upgrades that'll encourage your style of play. If you're stealthy, you can cloak yourself, you can smash through walls to open up new pathways, you can also have one that lets you sprint farther, faster, jump higher, one that reduces gun recoil, X-ray vision so you can see your enemies through walls, lots of cool stuff like that. And no matter how you play this game, by the end you will feel like a total badass, and I thought that was really cool. The inventory system is very similar to Resident Evil 4's, if you've ever played that, meaning that it's a grid, and each item that you have in your inventory just takes up a certain amount of boxes in that grid. So you have to manage your inventory very carefully and decide what you really want and what weapons you actually want to keep on you at any time. I thought the weapons were also pretty fun. There's, I think, about 6 or 7 of them. You can upgrade them with silencers, laser sights, and each weapon has its own special, unique upgrade, and I thought that was pretty fun. The cover system in this, it is a first-person shooter, but there is a cover system that's basically straight out of Rainbow Six Vegas, if you ever played that. At least on the Xbox 360, you hold the left trigger, and as long as you're holding left trigger, you're in cover and you can pop out in and out that way, and I think that's a really great way to do a cover system for a first-person shooter, and I really like that. These graphics, as you can see, they're pretty good, with the exception of the main character, Adam. Most of the faces, though, or facial animations, are pretty bad in some spots, and that kind of takes you out of the experience. But the environments and everything look great. But I'd like to say a special exception to the art style, which, as you can see from this footage, there's a heavy emphasis on black and gold, and I really, really love it. It makes this game look unique, not like anything else, and it just gives it a whole vibe of its own. I think it's really cool. The combat is pretty fun and engaging, if a little punishing. Yes, there is a regenerative health system, but the enemies will come and find you, and they'll flank you. The AI is pretty smart, so if you don't play smart too, you're still going to die of regenerative health or not. The main character, Adam Jensen, who's doing his best Christian Bale Batman voice, which he's got about all the charisma and interest of Keanu Reeves in The Matrix. He's not very interesting, but he doesn't get in the way either, and like I said, he comes off as a badass. The story, which I think is the biggest selling point of this, has its share of confusing technobabble being in the future, but the themes of transhumanism versus humanist thought, class warfare, corporate power and conspiracy, really gray morality, and proxy warfare makes for a sophisticated game with sophisticated subject matter, but I found it fascinating. This is a future where people are really concerned about the way science is going. There's the side where they think you shouldn't be playing God, and there's the side where they think this is the next step in human evolution. And you can really see the game does a really good job of showing you both sides of this argument. You can really like feel for these people. You can understand how, you know, the people who don't have augmentations are afraid because they're going to be left behind by all these people who are augmenting themselves and becoming so much better than them. And you can see how these people think that augmentations are a great thing because they can help people and they're just progressing the human race. And I just like found it really fascinating. So that is, I think, the biggest selling point for this game. As I mentioned earlier, the facial animations in some spots are pretty bad. That's really distracting. It takes you out of the experience. Also, the loading times are long. Like I said, the combat's kind of punishing at times, and so you'll die. And every time you die, it's about a 30-40 second loading time until you can get back in the game. And I don't think that's just nitpicking anymore. It really does kind of hinder the experience. Also, the boss fights you're required to kill, which goes against the grain of this freedom thing. Not to mention that the boss fights were some of the more frustrating moments in the game because you're pumping these guys full of lead and they're not dying. So I really wish the boss fights had kind of just been not there at all, but take that or leave it, it doesn't really hurt the game. Without doing the mini side quests, I got about 20 hours of gameplay out of this. I imagine it could be up to 40 if you actually did them, and there's 4 endings. So this has a lot of replayability. I just rented it, but I'm thinking about going out and buying this so I can play through it again, because in a different style, see different endings. Really worth your time, guys. You should check it out. Thanks for watching.